Sirens tear through the afternoon, gunpowder in the air, me running barefoot across the yard, hands shaking as I try to reach my daughter Ava, lying in the grass, her therapy dog Charlie losing his mind beside her, blood already soaking through her jeans. Neighbors stand frozen, phones out, mouths open, but nobody moves, not fast enough anyway. Paramedics shout words I can't hear, my ears ringing, knees giving out as I squeeze her hand and whisper, "Stay with me, baby. Just stay." We moved here for peace, for a place with wide streets, decent schools, and a chance for Ava to have something like normal after everything she's lost. Ava's 12, tough as nails, always bright enough to burn off anyone's bad mood. 2 years ago, some reckless driver ran a red light, and in one instant, our world shattered. Ava lost her legs. No more running through sprinklers or biking with friends, no more walking herself to school. But she never lost her fight. Hospital beds, endless insurance calls, months of therapy, and I swear I only survived it because Ava refused to give up. We got Charlie, her golden retriever, to help her through the hard days. He went everywhere with her, giving her a reason to laugh again. That's why we moved, so Ava could feel safe. Streets smooth enough for her wheels, a place where she could live again. It seemed perfect at first, blossoms lining every driveway, kids shooting hoops in the cul-de-sac, neighbors always waving as you walked by. We planted flowers in the backyard, painted the ramp together. Ava was actually excited for once. I read every HOA bylaw before we moved in, making sure we followed the rules. Maybe I was being paranoid, but I thought the chilly hellos were just small-town awkwardness. But Ava saw it before I did. The neighbor lady with the permanent scowl, the way conversations stopped when we came around. I told her to give folks a chance, but I should have trusted my gut. Beneath the pretty lawns, something wasn't right. And sure enough, someone was going to poison the peace we'd worked so hard to build, and that someone was Karen. Clipboard in hand, sunglasses perched like a tiara, smile sharp enough to cut glass, she came over the first week, eyeing the ramp. "Just a friendly reminder," she said. "HOA needs to approve structural modifications." I explained, as calmly as I could, that the ramp was temporary, ADA compliant, and totally legal. She didn't like that. I could see it in the set of her jaw. She wasn't here to welcome us. She was here to gatekeep. And it wasn't just about the ramp. She didn't like the dog, didn't like Ava's wheelchair, didn't like being told she was wrong. Her power wasn't in yelling, at least not at first. She left passive-aggressive notes under the doormat, nitpicking our lawn, our trash cans, the size of Charlie, my daughter's therapy dog. "Too large for a neighborhood with children," she said, as if I was supposed to apologize for the animal. Who gave my kid the will to face another day? She started scolding Ava for riding too fast in her wheelchair on the sidewalk. Can you imagine? My blood boiled, but Ava tried to brush it off. Neighbors started avoiding us, keeping their distance. When Karen was around, it felt like everyone was watching. I tried to keep us invisible, told myself it would blow over, but Karen wasn't just enforcing order, she wanted control, and my daughter's independence threatened that. We followed every rule, kept our yard immaculate, but still, the orange. Violation slips appeared. Excessive decorative elements, noise disturbance from canine barking. Charlie only barked if someone approached the gate. Then came the email from the HOA board chair, signed warmly Karen, demanding photos and threatening legal consequences. Every time I sent back documentation and ADA guidelines, each response just seemed to piss her off more. Ava started staying. Inside, too scared to water the flowers alone while Karen stood at the end of our driveway, arms folded, watching. She didn't have to say a word. Then the mailbox was smashed. Our tires slashed, both of them. Deep cuts, clean. The cops shrugged it off. No cameras caught. Of course, when I checked the neighborhood security footage, that night's feed was missing. We set up our own camera, and that's when I caught Karen pacing in front of our house, taking pictures, muttering into her phone, leaving a handwritten note. "Maybe this isn't the right neighborhood for your kind." That's when I started collecting evidence. Every note, every violation, every whisper of hate. But a part of me, not the judge but the mom, wanted to believe it would stop. That maybe if I kept calm, didn't escalate, we'd be okay. I didn't see the storm coming. Not until the gunshot. It was just another sunny day. Ava finished therapy, asked if she could sit outside with Charlie, listen to music. I watched her through the window. Charlie chasing butterflies, Ava smiling for the first time in a long time. Then I heard shouting. Karen at the edge of our property, flailing her arms. Ava looked up, probably trying to de-escalate. Charlie ran between them, barking, protective. Karen screamed and, in a heartbeat, pulled a gun out of her purse, small, black, deadly. I barely had time to react before I heard two sharp cracks. Ava screamed, dropped to the grass. Charlie bolted. I sprinted outside. My baby was down, blood pouring from her leg, her face pale with shock. "Mom, my legs! I can't feel them!" I screamed for help. A neighbor ran over, pressing a towel to the wound, but Karen just stood there, gun dangling from her hand, blank-eyed, like she couldn't believe what she'd done. Sirens, flashing lights, chaos. Charlie came back, pressed against me as I held Ava's hand, willing her to stay conscious. Cops arrested Karen without a fight, her muttering something about self-defense, about the dog, about the wheelchair, moving too fast. The officers exchanged a glance, clearly not buying her story. As the ambulance door slammed shut and Ava disappeared inside, I stared at Karen, the woman who had just shattered my child's life again. She didn't even know who I was. She was about to find out. Hospital lights blurred as I sat there. Hands still covered in blood, Charlie not allowed inside, so a kind security guard kept him company while I waited. The trauma replayed in my mind. Gunshots, Karen's smug face. I've seen cases that broke grown men, but nothing hurt. Like this. A detective showed up, polite but nervous, clearly not used to dealing with someone from the federal bench. I gave him everything. The notes, emails, photos, and timeline of harassment. When I mentioned the missing security footage, he frowned, telling me, "You're not the first one to have trouble with her." That stung, the thought of how many had suffered before anyone took it seriously. How many times had Karen been given a pass? Karen sat in the precinct, arms crossed, claiming she'd been threatened by Ava's dog, by the fast-moving wheelchair. What she didn't know was that a neighbor had captured the entire encounter on their Ring camera. Every word, every step, every second of her escalating. When the police showed her the video, her confidence cracked. She demanded a lawyer, but as she left, one officer told her, "You know who her mother is, right? She's a federal judge." For the first time, Karen looked scared. I wasn't in Ava's hospital room when they wheeled her out of surgery, but I was there when she woke. Up, bruised and battered, but alive. The DA filed hate crime charges, civil rights violations, the works. Karen tried to spin her story. Respectable community member, moment of panic, the usual garbage. Her attorney requested bail, but the evidence was overwhelming. Years of harassment, that viral video. The community silence now shattered. The courtroom was packed, not for Karen's case, but because word had spread about a federal judge's daughter shot in her own yard, the footage circulating on every officer's phone. Karen was brought in just as I finished presiding over another case. She wasn't expecting to see me sitting in the judge's seat, delivering sentences with the full weight of the law. She froze. I'd recused myself from her case, but my presence alone reminded her that the law she had mocked was now staring her right in the face. Later, another judge read out Karen's charges. Assault with a deadly weapon, civil rights violations, and hate crime enhancements. The video played in the courtroom, and the gasps were real. Karen tried to explain, but nothing she said could erase the sound of Ava's scream or the sight of her collapsing from her wheelchair. When the verdict came, 20 years, no chance of parole, there was no applause, just a heavy silence. Justice, not vengeance. The story blew up in the news. Disability advocates, civil rights groups all talking about HOA abuse and the ways policy hides bigotry. The HOA board quit, and the community held a vigil on the sidewalk where Ava fell. People who had once looked away now sent cards, food, apologies. Karen's name became a warning. What happens when power is used to hurt, not protect? Ava survived, though she'll never walk again. She says her new chair just makes her faster. She's got grit like you wouldn't believe. She started a blog, a podcast, led panels about accessibility, standing up even when you're scared. Watching her, I see not just my daughter, but a survivor. Pain turned to purpose, fear to fire. She taught me that justice isn't about revenge. It's about making sure nobody gets silenced. Nobody gets pushed aside because they're different. So, if you're listening, don't look away when you see injustice. Speak. Act. Because sometimes the smallest voices carry the most weight, and sometimes the quietest strength comes from the ones you tried hardest to silence. What about you? Would you have spoken up or just kept your head down? Let's talk about it. Share your take below, right, wrong, or somewhere in between. Because maybe justice really starts with one person refusing to stay silent.